Today, we are diving into an absolute giant of American literature, Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. We're going to explore all of it, the courage, the injustice, and the empathy that make this story just timeless. Let's get right into it.
You know, the whole story really hinges on this one simple question. Our narrator, a young girl named Scout Finch, she's telling us how her older brother Jim ended up with a really nasty break in his arm. But to get the real story, to really understand how it happened, we have to rewind a few years.
So, picture this. Macomb, Alabama, back in the 1930s, right in the middle of the Great Depression. It's one of those sleepy southern towns, kind of dusty, where time moves slow. The summers are blistering hot, and everybody knows everybody else's business. This is the world where we meet our main characters.
At the very heart of the story, you've got the Finch family. We see everything through the eyes of Scout. She's our narrator, a super smart, tough little 6-year-old. Then there's her older brother Jem, and their dad, Atticus, a lawyer and a man of incredible principle. And you absolutely can't forget Calpurnia, the family's housekeeper, who is as much a part of that family as anyone. Now, for the kids, the biggest, scariest, most fascinating thing in all of Macomb is the Radley house next door. Town legend says it's home to this phantom-like guy they call Boo Radley, who hasn't been seen in years. And in their imaginations, oh, he's a monster, for sure.
So the kids spend their summers just completely obsessed with Boo Radley. They dare each other to run up and touch the house, kid stuff. But then, things start getting a little weird. Little gifts, things like chewing gum, a couple of old pennies, they just start showing up in the knothole of a tree on the Radley property. And then, one freezing night, when a neighbor's house is on fire, someone sneaks up and drapes a blanket over Scout's shoulders without her even noticing. Maybe their monster is more like a guardian angel.
But all those childhood games, they start to take a backseat, because a much darker, much more grown-up storm is brewing in Macomb, and it's about to pull the Finch family right into the middle of it.
And here it is, the heart of the conflict. Atticus is asked to defend Tom Robinson, a black man who's been accused of a terrible crime against a white woman. Now you have to remember, this is the segregated South in the 1930s. Taking this case is not popular. In fact, it's dangerous, and it makes Atticus and his kids a target for all the hate simmering just under the surface of their town.
This moment is a real game changer for how Scout sees her dad. She always just kind of thought he was old and, well, a little feeble. But that all changes the day a rabid dog comes down their street. To her absolute shock, Atticus picks up a rifle and, with one single perfect shot, takes the dog down. Turns out, her quiet book-reading dad has this incredible skill he never, ever talked about. She starts to see there's a different kind of strength in him, a quiet power she never knew was there.
See, Atticus tries to teach them that courage isn't about being good with a gun. He forces Jem to go read to their neighbor, Mrs. Dubose, who is just this incredibly mean, nasty old woman. It's only after she dies that he explained she was battling a morphine addiction and was determined to kick it before she passed. That, he tells them, is real courage, fighting a battle you know you're probably going to lose, but you fight it anyway. And boy, is that a lesson they're going to need.
And that brings us to the trial. The whole town is holding its breath. This is where Macomb's conscience, or its lack of one, is going to be put on full display for everyone to see.
The night before the trial, things get really ugly. A mob of men shows up at the jail planning to lynch Tom Robinson, and Atticus is there standing guard all by himself. But then, who shows up? Scout, Jim, and their friend Dill. And Scout, in this moment of just pure childhood innocence, she sees a man she recognizes and starts making small talk with him about his son. And that simple human connection, it completely disarms them. It shames them, and the mob just breaks up. A little kid did what no adult could.
So in the courtroom, Atticus just brilliantly takes apart the whole case against Tom. He proves that Mayella Ewell was beaten up on the right side of her face, which means she was probably hit by someone who's left-handed. Then he has Tom Robinson stand up, and everyone sees that his left arm is completely mangled and useless. But you know who is left-handed? Mayella's violent father, Bob Ewell. The whole story just doesn't add up. It's so clear what really happened.
0. That's the amount of credible evidence against Tom Robinson. Atticus gives this incredible closing speech, begging the all-white jury to rise above their prejudices and just do the right thing. But it's not enough. The verdict comes back. Guilty.
That verdict is it's a gut punch. It's a devastating blow to the Finches and to
any real idea of justice in Maycomb. And this is where the book's title really starts to make sense.
The very next morning, though, the Finches wake up to find their back porch piled high with food. Chicken, rolls, all sorts of things. It's from the black community. It's their way of saying thank you to Atticus for fighting so hard for Tom. And this simple, powerful show of respect actually brings Atticus, the man who never shows his emotions, to tears. But the injustice doesn't end in the courtroom. Tom Robinson, having lost all hope, tries to escape from prison, and he's shot. Not just once or twice, he's shot 17 times. He's dead. An innocent man killed. After he's killed, there's an editorial in the local paper that says his death was like the senseless slaughter of songbirds. And that's when it all comes together. Remember what Atticus said? It's a sin to kill a mockingbird because they don't do anything but make music for us to enjoy. They're innocent, and Tom Robinson was innocent.
But hold on, the story's not over. Because Bob Ewell, the man who started all of this, is furious that Atticus exposed him in court, and he's looking for revenge. This is what finally leads us back to that question from the very beginning.
So it's Halloween night. Jem and Scout are walking home alone in the dark after a school play. And suddenly, they're attacked. Someone grabs them from behind. It's Bob Ewell. Scout is tangled up in her costume. She can't see a thing. And then she hears a sickening crack, and Jem screams. But then, out of nowhere, another man is there, pulling their attacker off of them.
And who was this mystery man? Who was their savior? It was Arthur Boo Radley, the so-called monster from next door. The man who they'd been terrified of their whole lives had been watching over them all along. So in the end, we find out how Jem broke his arm, and Bob Ewell, he's found dead at the scene with a kitchen knife in him. Now the sheriff, he knows Boo Radley did it to save the kids, but he makes a choice. He reports that Ewell just tripped and fell on his own knife. And Scout, in this amazing moment of wisdom, she understands why. To drag the painfully shy Boo into the spotlight, even to call him a hero, would be a cruel thing to do. It would be like shooting another mockingbird.
In the very last scene, Scout takes Boo Radley by the hand and walks him home. And for the first time ever, she stands on his porch and looks out at her own street. She sees the past few years play out, but from his point of view. And she finally, truly understands that lesson her father had been trying to teach her all along. You can't really understand someone until you climb into their skin and walk around in it.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? The story starts with a broken arm, but it ends with a heart that's been broken open to empathy and real understanding. And it leaves us with a question, not for Scout, but for us. What do we miss when we only look at the world from our own front porch? What might we see if we just dared to try and see it from someone else's?